Mhm. Just waiting for the Instagram live. Mhm. Mhm. Hey, everyone, just get the cameras on the right angles. I just wanted to come in today and talk about some things that have been coming up and what I have coming up and all sorts of things. So yeah, welcome here. I know that white light behind is a little bit distracting, but I think I'm just going to leave it. So yeah, talking about what I have coming up as well as what's going on. I had a couple of people message me about my post about assumptions and thank you for sharing that, and that it came to them at the perfect time for what they have going on in their life and their connections with the people around them, and that it really helped to understand what was going on a bit more within the connections between people. And so what I've been learning through studying NLP, which I started studying in my 20s and I never finished it. So I'm just picking that back up and refreshing and getting through to the end this time. Completion would be good. And so what I've been learning is that everyone has a different reference point and a different frame of the world. Everyone is perceiving the world slightly differently. Everyone is putting a layer of their own assumptions, essentially, but their own programming of how the world responds to them onto what is going on, onto what they are perceiving. And in many recent experiences, it's been shown to me blatantly that two people can perceive events very differently, and two people can get what the other person is saying completely wrong within a fraction of a second. And so we hear what we want to hear sometimes, quite often, and we perceive what we want to perceive quite often. And so these assumptions that we're making about people are based on how the other person is acting, what the other person is saying, what the other person is doing, isn't doing. And all these things that we pop our own filter of the world on based on how we were treated as a child, on how we were treated as a small adolescent, as we were treated as a teenager, and even as a young adult. And even now if we are not overly aware of ourselves and how we're being programmed by the world, then we'll constantly be programmed by the world well into adulthood, and so there's such a strong thing to be able to be self-aware of how we are projecting our past behaviors onto other people, how we are projecting our expectations onto the other people around us, and how we are projecting our past trauma. And that just doesn't have to be in a romantic relationship. Past trauma that can be with a parental figure versus a boss at work, anyone who has some kind of say over what you do with your life, which is the parental figure when we were younger. And so we project that out onto our current bosses, people who have a say over what we do, and then over friend relationships, over our sibling relationships. And so all of these things that we are programmed with from our past in terms of how people show up for us specifically, and how we think people should show up for us, and how the person thinks they're showing up for you can all be very warped and very different. We all think we're perceiving the world in the same way, and we are not by any means. And so clarity around communication is so important. Communicating how you perceive the world, communicating what you understand as someone showing up for you in a good way, as someone being loyal to you, as someone being in a romantic relationship with you, and setting boundaries with people. And so this all does come from something that is programmed within us and within our subconscious. And then we walk around the world blindly, projecting these ways that we have been molded onto other people. So if we have been let down in the past by parental figures, or let down in the past by someone who was part of our lives, then we can go around our lives projecting onto other people our expectation and our assumption that those people are going to let us down. And unfortunately, with the vibrational frequency that we all put out, people can only show up in your life how you will let people show up in your life. And so this is really a big thing that I've been learning a lot about through different programs that I've been in, and through different books that I've read. This has been a really good one that I've read, Letting Go, that I'm going back through and earmarking a lot of different things that are very relevant that I want to go back to. So Dr. David Hawkins has got a huge series of books that are of different things. And this is the first one I came across through a school that I was in. And so, yeah, if everyone could read that more than once in their life, I think I've been through it twice now, so going through it a third time. And so different things that we can become aware of, how we are letting go. We can let go of the programming that we project onto the world. And one of the wounds that I was made very aware of in the last few years was the witch wound. And the witch wound is this wounding around sharing our voice, sharing our authentic voice with the world, and sharing our authentic self with our interests, with the magic that we create within our lives, with the ceremony, with the ritual that we create. And everything that we do in our daily lives is a ritual, and everything that we do is a ceremony in terms of operating in our daily lives. And if we can do that with a reverence for being present with the people around us. And all of this is coming from my own lessons that I've had to learn the hard way. So I'm, by all means, I am not operating perfectly in the world either. Everything that I'm doing is learning different aspects of how people communicate, and why people communicate, and why people do things the way that they do them. And so this is very much about a self-analysis and finding the limiting beliefs that we place on ourselves and that we place on others, like this limiting belief about ourselves, but the assumptions that we make about other people and about how other people show up in the world is placing a limiting belief on other people, and how other people can only show up for you the way that you expect them to. And consciously, our expectations of someone can be very different from our subconscious programming of how we think someone should show up for us. So in a new romantic relationship, consciously, we want someone to show up loving us, spending time with us, wanting to see us, replying back to our messages, wanting to call and speak to us, wanting to know how our day has been, wanting to go out and do things with each other, wanting to cuddle and spend downtime sitting on the couch just talking, dancing, playing pool, going out, socializing, going for bushwalks, doing all these things that we want to do with the other person. And there are expectations that we place on a new relationship or what we have going on. Subconsciously, our expectations can be quite different, based on what has happened in the past to us, what has happened from childhood to people showing up for us and for people letting us down. And it really is the people that have let us down that is the where we really want to look for the keys to unlock and release and set free. Hi, Sophia. Thanks for popping on. Just talking about all the things that we talk about. Sophia and I have started to record a podcast called Witchy Talk that I've been editing. And I'm very excited to bring to everyone about all of these types of things. We go in depth with how people really communicate with each other and the dynamics that we have with ourselves and the dynamics that we have with other people. And so this is really, I haven't done this before, Sophia. Let me see what this is going to do. I've never done this before. You just requested to go live with me, and I'm just seeing. I think I pressed accept. Oh, maybe it was an accident. If you want to come on live, that's fine. You can. Or good, maybe it was an accident. I didn't know that was a thing. Oh yeah, you've put oops. All good. And so yeah, going back to like how we project our negative assumptions on to people based on our conditioning as a child and our conditioning as a young adult, and we all understand that up to 7 years old is really, we're really, really programmed. But then after that, being consciously aware, very discerning about what we let into our field and what we don't. And so I'm very aware of our own energetic systems as well. So I'm very aware that speaking about this is quite triggering for me because my throat is being very raspy and it has not been very raspy for the day. So noticing when our body is finding fear in what we're doing and pushing through it, because it's very important for people to be aware of these kind of things. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are speaking about this, but the more people can reach and speaking in their own authentic way about different things is going to reach different people on different layers and hold different understandings for different people. And so going back to the witch wound that I was talking about before is this wound around sharing our authentic self and sharing the magic that we can bring to the world. And magic doesn't have to look like traditional magic or ritual magic. Your own magic is your own voice that you share authentically in the world with people to help people connect better, to help people understand you. And I'm going to get emotional now. So that's recognizing something that I need to work through. So your magic is sharing your own authentic voice so people can connect deeply with you and understand you. And that is your magic that you bring to the world. It doesn't have to be creating rituals and conjuring things and making spells, and that is all magic as well. But there's a different layer of magic that I like to work with, which is the energetics of your own self and the magic of transforming your own energy so you can be perceived and express more authentically in the world. And yeah, that's really emotional for me. So that's what I'm really working on. And coming up to our dark moon ceremony this weekend, then, because that is proved to be very emotional for me, then I know that that's what I'm going to look at when I'm feeling composed and when I can dedicate time to look at that. And so the sister wound comes out of the witch wound, and the witch wound is very much like the masculine feminine dynamic, because we were prosecuted back in the witch trials in the burning times by these men that prosecuted women and burnt them for being a witch. But they weren't being a witch, they were just being a woman, and they were just going about their intuitive ways with tapping into nature and tapping into plant medicine and understanding how the body works. And so I love looking at this, because within the witch wound there is a sister wound, and the sister wound is this competition with each other around what we're sharing, because during those witch trials there were women who abandoned each other and sacrificed other sisters for their own survival. And it was a matter of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, and survival of the fittest. And if that meant betraying a sister who ended up dying at the hands of these men who were prosecuting and these witch hunters, then that is really a sister wound that runs deep through the core of the witch wound. And so there's something just to be very aware of with being competitive with each other, and being competitive with the gatekeeping around magical practices, around sharing our knowledge and around sharing what we do in the world. And yes, creating a ritual and creating our own practices is very private, and those things can still be very private, but there is a level of sharing our understanding of different modalities, of different ways to do things, of different practices that can all be shared openly, without the need for gatekeeping around certain ways of doing things. And so, yeah, this has come up a lot for me over my whole life, I've realized, but now that I'm just working so much more on being so much more self-aware around these different things and around these different wounds that we carry, and can sometimes be so open that everything and anything that anyone does is triggering and is it plays into our assumptions that we project onto other people, especially when other people are genuinely trying to connect, or genuinely trying to understand the other person, or understand the different dynamics that we have with people. And this can, show up in really isolating ourselves from others, of going into deep depression and deep anxiety around being very protective. And we need to be very protective of our own energy and creating boundaries for ourselves. But realizing, is it a boundary, or is it holding a grudge? Is it a boundary, or is it sweeping things under the rug? Is it a boundary? And being really self-aware of what we're doing to ourselves, by not letting emotions and conversations and words flow freely, and how holding on to things can be very detrimental to the body. And we all understand and know this. And, on a deeper level, holding on to things is just detrimental to the disease that can form in the body. And I'm not an expert on that, but I definitely believe and understand that that is definitely what is happening. And so purging and letting go and releasing through different ceremonies with different people, and different and your own solo ceremonies as well. Hi, Missy. Thanks for joining. And so it is really about self-awareness, and how self-aware we are of what we are projecting onto other people, and we can be aware of that based on the assumptions that we are projecting onto other people. And this has come up with my NLP training, and so I'm doing a lot to work through speaking about these things as well. I've been doing this training, as well as doing Toastmasters as well, which is helping me speak more freely about what's coming up, and then other sister circles that I'm in that are very much about witnessing and not validating. And the validation is something that we as humans are trained to seek from a very young children, to be validated for going for a poop in the toilet instead of in the nappies. It all starts from there. I think that's the very first validation, very intense validation that we get as children, is you will get gifts when you poo in the toilet, right? And then it just keeps going from there. Don't throw your food off the table. If you keep all your food on your plate and you eat it, then you get your dessert, right? And all this validation that we're getting. And we don't want to be messy eaters going into adulthood, so that is still quite very good training to have. And pooping in the toilet instead of in the nappies is very good training. But is the validation that we get as very young children that then we continue to seek as adults, and getting the validation for what we're doing, is being very aware of what we are doing to seek external validation, and really being able to validate ourselves. Is something that's come up for me recently a lot, is that is not seeking external validation. And really looking at how we can do that for ourselves, and holding gratitude for what we have in our lives, but also gratitude for what we have internally within us, and we are taught to keep a gratitude journal, and that's all good and well, and it's amazing definitely to do the gratitude journal. But it's come up as well recently that having, quite often we put external things in that gratitude list, and forgetting to have gratitude for ourselves and our own internal processes, and what we have brought to the day, and what we are working through, and gratitude for ourselves for showing up for ourselves, and gratitude for the love that we have managed to hold despite being in a dark place, and different gratitude around that. And that's brought up a lot of forgiveness and a lot of awareness around where forgiveness comes into play, and that this is such a strong forgiveness for ourselves first and foremost, that is needs to come in to be able to radiate out to other people as well. So at the moment, I'm really forgiving myself for not showing up for myself this year, and for pushing myself way beyond my capacity to hold space for other people when I wasn't even holding space for myself. So being able to recognize when we are pushing ourselves too far for other people, and forgive ourselves for that, and really be able to come back to ourselves, and creating these own ritual spaces and connections for ourselves with the gratitude journal, with doing our own meditation or yoga practice, or whatever is there for you to fill your own cup up, and to shower yourself with love. And everything comes back to love, and this frequency that trumps everything, is this love for ourselves, and for the people around us. Can only really receive love once we are truly from us, once we can send it wholeheartedly to ourselves. There's so much disconnection that comes up in all relationships, and romantic relationships, when we are unable to even love ourselves fully, and this has been ingrained in me from watching RuPaul's Drag Race. If you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love someone else? Thank you, RuPaul. That is very true. And so I'm going to watch some Drag Race tonight, actually. So we can get all these beautiful messages from all these different places if we are really just aware of it. And I watched RuPaul Drag Race for years, and I heard that for years without even really feeling it in my body. It was just something that was said at the end of every episode. And one day it just hit me that I'm like, yeah, of course, we hear it and we consciously understand what it means, but to feel the feeling of that, to allow ourselves to feel as humans is really another thing that's shut down from being a child, is to not allow ourselves to feel fully through the emotions that need to come up and need to be released. And so this forgiveness piece around ourselves, but also around our parents, and
that our parents were doing the best with the tools that they had, and well, there was definitely not as much awareness, and information shared when they were parenting around conscious parenting. They were doing the best with the programming that they had from their parents and theirs before. And so really this forgiveness around people doing the best with the information that they have, including ourselves, including ourselves. And so showing up for ourselves, and for me, showing up doing this is really what I am wanting to put out more and more, to be doing this on. This is Wednesday for me, and for this to be a regular, like, Witchy Wednesday thing that I do. And showing up for myself can also look like being too tired or exhausted, or processing my own things that sometimes it isn't as easy to continuously show up and do the same thing every week. But it's tapping into the discipline of what we're wanting to create in our lives. So looking at this has come up in some tarot cards that I pulled, is really if you have what you are wanting to create and you can hold that vision, but you lack the discipline to follow through and create that, then there's really a big piece of self-worth to look at, and to go back and to really look into how worthy you feel of that. And we're all worthy of creating beautiful, amazing things in our lives. Like, the self-worth piece is something that is a core wound that a lot of people have, that they don't feel worthy to have the bigger things that they want to expand into. And so if you can if we can visualize it and manifest it and see it, then we know that we can manifest it in. But the worthiness piece has to come in through your human and through the deeper, lower chakras of feeling worthy of that. Like, we can manifest and visualize from our upper chakras, we can see it, we can feel it in our heart, we can know it. But if we can't bring that down into our belly and into our lower chakras and ground that in through our root chakra, like these are our body chakras, these are our higher, mind, energetics, quantum field, 5D kind of chakras. And these lower chakras are our earthly realm, and grounding into the human that walks on the earth. So if there's self-worth and there's a lack of discipline with following through, then it's really worth looking at the self-worth piece. And it comes through what I was speaking about before, the witch wound, the sister wound. How are our wounds open to everything that happens around us, bringing us down and triggering us? And then how are we projecting our assumptions onto the world around things not showing up for us or things not lining up? So it's like noticing where there's a disconnect, and finding the discipline and showing up in a way that is validating for ourselves, and not seeking the external validation that I was speaking about before. And so going into Dark Moon Ceremony this weekend as well is bringing through all of these different aspects of the sister wound, the witch wound, forgiveness, and then the expansion of love. Because like I said before, the love frequency is really what trumps everything else. And to be able to tap into that forgiveness and love frequency and be able to cycle through the forgiveness and the love, no matter what has happened in your perceived reality of what we can see and know and understand, is all can be so warped based on our own perceptions of the world. And so bringing in the awareness of how we choose to make assumptions about other people, and then how we choose to make assumptions about ourselves, and really looking at that. And that's something that I'm going to journal on, and I journal on it a lot. That's something that I'm really going to look into for this dark moon. Oh, look at that oh, so croaky. That's definitely where I need to look at. And so we can be very aware of the assumptions that other people are making of ourselves, of us. And we can see when someone else has made an assumption about us. And it can be very disheartening when other people choose to believe their negative assumptions about us. But where are we choosing to believe our negative assumptions about ourselves? So really encouraging you to journal on that, leading into the dark moon, and then following through into the new moon with your intentions going forward as well. So purging and releasing on the dark moon what isn't serving you, what assumptions are you making about other people, what assumptions are you making about yourself, and what perceived assumptions do you have that you feel other people have made about you? And forgiving and letting that go, because holding on to it is just keeping the wound open, keeping the sister wound open, keeping the witch wound open. And so really releasing that can help us close those wounds up, so that when those things do happen around us, that we are less reactive in the world and less reactive to the things that are happening, and remaining whole in our center and grounded in our love for ourselves and grounded in our love for everyone that is in our lives, no matter how they're showing up for us, if they're showing up in disharmony with us, if they're showing up making assumptions about us. And if they're showing up in a beautiful, loving way, having gratitude for everyone, no matter how they show up, because they are all just reflecting back to us what we need to work on. And it's up to other people to understand how we're reflecting to them. We can't push that on people, how we are reflecting to them. And I walk around life in the last few years of learning new techniques, saying that I am a mirror. And when I work with people and I go into ceremony, or I work with people one-on-one, or in different containers and different practices, and going into different ceremony, I am a mirror. At work, I'm a mirror. Wherever I go, I'm a mirror. I've been doing ballroom dancing with people, and learning how to dance has been very freeing, and doing the ballroom dancing with the masculine feminine dynamic has been very interesting. So I am a mirror constantly. I am a mirror, and that is my boundary that I set for energy and energetics. So how, if everyone else is a mirror as well, how are their assumptions about you reflecting and piercing into that wound, that sister or that witch wound? And I guess the boys have their brother wound too. And so it's just being very aware of all of that. So yeah, wanting to bring that to you today, and holding space in that and with that and for that to flow into the dark moon ceremony happening this weekend. I like to work with Inanna, so the transformational goddess that we will bring in is Inanna, through her descent into the underworld, through the 9 layers of the underworld, to meet her sister Ereshkigal and reveal what needs to be transformed in this sister wound, is very obvious within Inanna and Ereshkigal. And so this has come up and has been very prevalent for me, and she's come through very strong with the past life regressions that I've been doing as well. And so yeah, bringing all that into awareness for the journey this weekend. So I'm going to head off now, and my mum just said it's really cold outside, so I don't know if I want to go gardening, but I had wanted to do a bit of gardening today, but I may do some more NLP study, tend to some of my house plants, do a bit of reading and grounding, and maybe some editing of the Witchy Talk project that I have going with Sophia, and get that some more momentum around projects that are wanting to come into completion very soon. So wanting to bring that in today. So I look forward to seeing you. If you need the link, if you can't find the link to book for the dark moon ceremony, And if you would like the link to book in with a past life regression, we're still doing those. I've had a few bookings for those this month as well. And so the $30 US is continuing to the end of the year for the past life regressions. And then next year, the price will be going up for that as well. So yes, so looking forward to a few more regressions this month. And yeah, in December leading up to before Christmas, there will be definitely space for more journeys within Anna to visit what needs to be renewed and released and brought to the awareness. And yeah, so that's me, and that's my Witchy Wednesday that I'm bringing to you. So just going to stop recording on my laptop first. So yeah, so thank you for joining me, and see you all next time. Bye.